Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order with roll call. Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Tomerlin.
Here.
Councilmember Navarrete.
Here.
Councilmember Aguilar.
Here.
Vice Mayor Alonso.
Here.
And I am present. We do have a full quorum. So everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I appreciate everyone being here tonight for our work session. I know this has been something we've been working on to make sure we had a very open discussion on current police matters. And so we're going to start with agenda item A, discussion of new policy concerning police report timelines and transparency. And Chief, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you for your presentation, and then we'll get into any council questions and comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, thank you for having me here to discuss this important topic. This is absolutely a topic that has been in discussion for a while in how we can make things better for residents to obtain police reports. We obviously have gone through a transition of staffing on how we are going to approach this. And the way I'm looking at doing this is start off kind of at the beginning of doing a command directive, a protocol on how reports are going to be obtained, and having that documentation for everyone to keep for records and for making sure that whoever is asking for a report, that's documented the day they ask for it and the day that they receive it. That we have a timeline, that we have fees that are involved in this report process. This is something that is important and something that we have to establish, to provide, good service to the residents. The purpose of this form is to ensure that we gather all necessary information and accurately locate reports, which is also maintaining compliance with the Arizona Public Records laws and privacy requirements. While we strive to provide transparency, there are certain reports or portions of the reports that cannot legally be released without court order or may require redaction to protect sensitive information. The form outlines a clear and consistent fee structure. Currently, the department charges $5 per report and 25 cents per supplemental page, with an additional $15 fee for body cam video requests. And I know that might throw a little people off, since body cams have come into law enforcement. This is a fee that is a little pricey. However, there is a lot of manpower, a lot of man time that we spend on going through videos and redacting some information. So this is something that we only have one person that does this for us. We have tried to have one of our sergeants handle the Axon part of it, which is the body cam, which again, they have to go into the system, label them, making sure that officers are submitting them correctly. So those are two separate, as far as body cams that have came into law enforcement, that it's really difficult to sometimes get to people that request them in a timely manner. And so we are putting a timeline here of 10 to 12 days, business days, to make sure we understand, not calendar, business days to request the process. The time frame allows the staff to properly locate the report and review it and make sure any required redactions are made and prepare for the records to be released. Residents are also provided a multi-delivery options, including picking up the report in person, receiving it by mail or email, and also a request for pickup, which if we hold it for 30 days after notifying the requester and they don't pick it up, then we'll forfeit the report and nothing will be collected at that point. Lastly, the form includes an internal records tracking section, which is something that will come to me on a weekly basis. And this is something that myself and Lieutenant have started reviewing. So at the end of the week, Joyce, our administrative assistant, has provided us any records requests for the week, so we are aware of the records requests, and we are monitoring that those requests are given out in a timely manner within the time frame that we are going to implement. So that is something that we have spoken with our administrative assistant and made sure that we are on the same page, and that we are communicating this to the public and making sure that they understand. Now, there's always, something can be held up. It could be that the fact that it's still under investigation, or that the county attorneys don't want anything released at this point. So there are going to be circumstances where we are going to let them know, hey, your report's not going to be available to you at this time because of this reason. So that's something that we want to make sure that we're transparent with them, and we're consistent and efficient with them in handling their public records and their requests. So we want to make sure that, again, we're compliant with everything, that we're making sure that if we have any questions, we can contact Mr. Cooper and he can help us facilitate that if it's a legal matter or an issue that the community has any issues with. I think that's something that we can do. Now, as far as an extended policy from outside of just this request, we got to remember when we do policies and procedures, especially for police departments, we have to adapt to what our department, the size of our department, the town, the expectations of what policing and what they want from us. So everything is tailored. It's not as easy as going to Gilbert or Chandler and just copying their policies. Or, most of these policies before I got here were adopted by a chief back in 2015. So a lot of it was copycat. It was something that was mimicked from Pinal County, and a lot of this information is directly from how they do things. Now, myself and Todd have spoken, and we would like to do an all blanket policy and procedures revision. I think that would be something that instead of coming across one policy and then saying, okay, can we revise this one, and then 3 months down the road something comes up, look, we need to revise this one. I would rather do one across and implement all policies, because it's a common practice that every 10 years policies should be revised in law enforcement. So that's something we're already at that threshold of 11 years now. So I think that's something that we have to look into, and it just makes it better. It protects our liability, and it also, and I had someone talk to me about this that is very familiar with this, and it's that they say policy is a risk mitigation. I mean, that's such a true statement, and I believe something that we got to make sure that we follow through, and policy is accountable, and a good recruiter too. So if you have good policies, people want to come here because they know they're protected. They know that we have things in place, and it also helps accreditation and down the road. If we want to really be the top police department, small department in Maricopa or in the state, our goal as the chief of police and as a community, we want to be accredited. We want our policies and procedures to be accredited. And that's something that I'm in discussion with other agencies that have accreditation, and some of the procedures that we have to go through. Now, that's a process. It's not something that's done overnight. It's something that takes a while to happen, and this is something that myself, Todd, and the legal representation also will be involved in this. So this is something that we look forward to doing, but this is a step forward. This is something that we can at least be accountable, and that's something that we want to make sure that we're implementing in this process. Thank you.
I had some questions on the form. I don't know if you guys had a chance to address those, because I never saw no feedback, but it states in here that we do a request to records division. Do we have a records division?
So we did, and I apologize, Vice Mayor, there was a revision on that one. It was sent out, however, it was changed. I did change it to the Superior Police Department.
Okay.
So there is absolutely a records division. I mean, it would be nice to have a records division, you know.
No, I
with
know,
the-
that's what
with
I'm
a-
like,
with
we're
a bunch
writing-
of,
We're writing policies that are too big for our department.
Exactly,
And I
exactly.
did see.
And I get it.
that we're-
So we corrected that, sir, and we also corrected, the fees on the,
Yeah, I saw that.
and that's something that, you know, and that's something that, you know, if we feel that it's something that we can change as far as, you know, the price, you know, because we're kind of going off what other agencies are doing.
Yeah, I saw you, it's, Gila River Department, so I know.
Yeah, so we've gotten from various departments
You said
that,
we didn't do that.
and that's only because they have gone through a lot of accreditation and different policies that I think make sense that we can kind of, you know, implement and we can kind of tailor and use as a foundation for our policies.
I think the only adjustment I would make to this is where we're using the 10 to 12 business days. But if we're unable to comply and get them what they need in 10 to 12 business days, what's our documented feedback channel for letting them know we can't get to it, other than a verbal or a phone call or something like that?
Well, it would definitely be, you know, an email, a phone call. There would have to be some type of communication and some type of information that's documented that we are either extending, you know, the time frame or the reason why it's delayed. So that's something that Joyce and I will be able to sit down and kind of make sure that that's being transparent to everyone that's requesting.
I think as part of your risk mitigation point, you should
Yeah.
probably add that in.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So,
Now, the 10 and 12 business days, I know that's a little extended, you know, but again, we don't have a full-blown administrative staff at our PD. We have one that handles multiple tasks. And, you know, this is something that we feel that it's probably appropriate. I mean, it could be done faster, you know?
This is what you guys are signing up for.
Yeah. And also, again, with the $50 fee for the body cam, it's not always, it could be less depending on, or it could be more depending on how long these videos are gonna be. You know, some videos are quick and some videos are long, so.
So I guess that brings up another question then. When somebody does, at what point, if I'm a victim and I wanna receive my report, at what point is that report available to me?
Well, depending on the incident, depending if it's an ongoing investigation. Now, if it's an ongoing investigation, it's probably not gonna be next week, there's not gonna be.
Right, I guess that's why I'm asking, because it doesn't really specify, it just says when you request it for records, you have 10 to 12.
And that's something that will be discussed to the requester and make sure they are informed that if this report is not available to them within that time frame, and this is the reason why. And we will definitely document that on paper, you know, on an email, so they're aware of it. Now, again, there's an extension of the policy that we are going to add those very specifics that you're asking for.
So, one comment I would make, and maybe the chief can address it. The request, I feel strongly we need to have a follow-up formal letter to a request if there's an extension. The people who end up in my office have all tell me they spoke to someone and were told that they couldn't get a report in for this reason. They still come to my office and complain because they don't have any documentation or any clear timeline or clear path to get the report. If they're told, it's 10 to 12 days, but the report isn't done because this attorney, that attorney, that needs to be documented saying this is held up by the county attorney. They can hold it until trial, or they can hold it until this, so that at least they have some clarity and something in writing. And I'd also ask the chief how many active complaints we have about late reports. I know of several, and if there are any still outstanding that we're dealing with.
But who's doing these follow-ups?
Well, the follow-ups are gonna come from
I
our
understand on the
administrative.
12th day, if it's not gonna be taken care of, who's doing the follow-up and make sure?
It's gonna be Joyce. I mean, we don't have anyone else other than Joyce. You know, officers are not gonna be assigned to this type of task. You know, they got other stuff to do. So, I mean, I would love to have additional administrative staff. I would love to just have someone deal with records, that's it. But I have someone right now that has way too much responsibility and task. And that we have even sat down and said to ourselves, this is way too much. And this is where we are looking at maybe even having a reserve officer assigned to her to help her at least get to where she needs to be. You know, but ultimately, we need another administrative assistant. We need another person that specifically does records, because records itself is a whole new thing. I mean, that's.
So you bring up a good point, Chief, where we only have one person, and how many administrative people does Gila River have? Because this is benchmarked off of what they do. So if you were to look at the total amount of open reports you have or delinquent reports and set a baseline of what the expectation is to have those turned in a timely manner based off of resources, maybe it's not 10 to 12 days, maybe it's more than 10 to 12 days. And I mean, it just depends on her workload and the amount of reports that she has to get to. I mean, one of your overhead, and maybe this is not realistic, and you guys are gonna end up spending more time and resources responding formally and documenting this stuff, letting people know why they can't get their reports yet, rather than giving yourself enough time to address this.
And I agree, Vice Mayor. I agree that, you know, this is something that I don't want to call it a test run, because that doesn't sound right.
I mean, treat it as a draft.
Yeah, and that this is something that we can, you know, test for the next couple of months to see how it works. Again, you know, it worked before, but again, we had a police aide position in our department that was solely just working on those reports. We had the National Reserve, soldiers that came out here and they helped us. So we had assistance back then, but that changed. You know, the position was not, it's not there anymore, and we don't have the luxury to call the National Guard to help us.
Right.
So
I just feel based off of what you've shared with us so far and the lack of the resource needed, even if we tested this for a month or two, you're setting her up for failure.
well, I think if we say, you know, a month or so, then the complaint's gonna come in, it's taking too long. You know, I get the part with, you know, the timeline. I personally don't like timelines, not this, but it's just, we'll take care of it in a timely manner and then document it. And
I think timelines are holding us accountable, so it is important that there are timelines, but on the other hand, it seems like you have the data based on the amount of complaints that you guys have for the amount of reports that are past due. If we went back and looked at that and did a time study on it, I don't think you'll need to test it for a couple months. I think the data's there if you guys are able to just go through it and categorize it as such. And then you'll have a block of time where you can come back with realistic times on when you guys can have these reports to people.
yeah, I mean, this timeline isn't Gila River's timeline. Gila River's is like 6 to 7 to 8 days. I mean, they do it quickly, obviously, because they have
I'm just trying to help you out.
they have a staff. No, I agree, you know, and I mean, this is the number that Joyce and I spoke, and this is something that, again, we have to redefine her position, redefine her responsibilities, and putting that effort to get this done. You know,
I just think you have data that you're not using that can help baseline this and be a little bit more accurate, give or take a few days to help you guys out rather than just doing a test run based on, you know, what you guys have spoken about.
So I would comment that FOIA requests that come into the town clerk, within 5 days, they get a response. They don't get the record, they get a response saying that it's going to take us X amount of time to produce this record. here's the process to get it, here's what it's gonna cost you. And, you know, the FOIA requests themselves vary widely. Some can take an hour, some can take a week. So this one's 2-3 weeks. So, but you make contact, you tell them, here's what it's gonna take, here's when you're gonna get your report. That clarity step is an important step. And if just that 10 to 12 days is providing that clarity step, then that's the objective. Again, this form doesn't say they're gonna get the report in 10 to 12 days. It says they're gonna get the report, or they're gonna get contact saying when they're gonna get the report, what the delay is.
Does she feel confident that she can turn this around in 10 to 12 days?
I think if we, again, make sure that she is focusing on that part of the job, yes. If we can eliminate some of the other things that we can have either reserves handle it, I think it could be done. Again,
So when we spoke, you told me you were less than 50% staffed, and we were way understaffed. So if we're not using our police force to actively police our community, and they're doing this type of admin work, I can tell you right now, we are not setting ourselves up correctly. I mean,
I think that the person that we are zeroing in on to help is doing our backgrounds. And we have 2 people doing backgrounds because we're trying to get people through the process.
no, I get that.
And-
I get what you're saying, Chief, but you're adding something to her list of tasks to focus on, where you mentioned a couple of times that she's got way too much on her plate right now, and you need another admin person. And yeah, if she focuses primarily on this, she'll get it done, but what else is gonna suffer because she's doing this?
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's, I mean, we would love another person. I mean, you know, I mean,
I think we're going around
I
and
know,
around here.
I'm
This
talking in
is,
circles.
like, for the days, I mean, what do you want to happen? You want him to go back and do this study and come back? I mean, we don't necessarily have to prove this
No,
tonight.
no, and that's
You know
what I
I
was
mean?
saying,
So let's
treat it
have
as
you
a
go
rough
back,
draft.
do the study, and then come back with this to verify the number of days.
okay.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree.
I mean,
or
he's gonna
disagree.
know better than me how many days it's
So,
gonna
so
take.
this is a work session discussion item. There is an item on the regular agenda if you chose to advance approving something tonight, just to give you that option. But you are not required in any way to act on this tonight. If you would like to table it for the next meeting and ask the chief to come back, that is part of the protocol.
I think I would like to see that, and I would also like to see, because this is just a form, it's not a policy. So what policy is talking to this form, and what's the verbiage in that? That'll probably address majority of this stuff.
No, it will, but again, policy is gonna be tailored towards our department.
Totally understand that, Chief.
And-
We
but
can
I'm-
still look at it and see,
Yeah.
look
Yeah,
at the policy and
absolutely,
see
yeah,
how it
and that's
applies to
something
this
we can
form.
definitely
That way
present.
it makes more sense to
Because
us.
then that helps if down the road we do get another person, hired and helps us.
Well, and it helps us to better understand what this process is, because the council is who gets all the phone calls. Hey, I went to the police department and no one was there to get my report, or, oh, they said to come back and it's not here. So what we're trying to say is we want to see some follow through, and to be able to say, okay, well, did you get this letter that says they needed 12 more days, or they needed this much more time? I like the clerk's approach, where you get 5 days for us to notice, to say, okay, this is how long this is gonna take. And granted, that's a whole different level of document retention, but I think that's what we're trying to get at. Like, we wanna know what the process is, who's gonna be responsible for it, and we know everybody's short-staffed, and unfortunately, current budgets are not going to allow anybody to have any extra admin support. So we want something that is going to work for our department, most importantly, work for the citizens of Superior and those engaging with our police department. So, and I know it's a rough spot because you've inherited policies that are 10 years old. So I think this conversation has to continue, and then what we need to know is, what's that timeline draft? What's that expectation, so all these policies get updated and we can put that end goal towards that that accreditation that we would like to see happen. Is that a fair assessment?
Couldn't have said it better.
Oh, thanks,
I was
Winston.
curious with the accreditation, is it like per policy or it's for the department policies collectively?
It's the whole
The whole
department
thing,
policy.
whole
and
package
procedures.
together.
Yes.
It has more, accreditation's more than just the policy manual, but that's part of it, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this conversation is bringing to light that we need to put some focused attention, and I think accreditation is a important thing for our council and our police department to set some goals for. Our town set a lot of goals and we've been moving forward. I think that's important. And, you know, none of us want to be in the micromanagement of everyday business here. Like, that's not what we want, but we have to deal with the complaints that come in because people haven't gotten it. I've been CC'd on all those emails that went on for almost a year, sending it back and forth because of, oh, we paid the $15 and we still haven't gotten our report. And I don't have any answers. People are coming like, I'm so sorry, hold on, let me put another email out and involve the entire team on that. So it's like, yeah, this is we need better resolve on this.
Yeah, and I think also educating the community on how the process works. I think that is important, you know, because again, it's, the people that are complaining might be the people that we have to hold their reports until the investigation is done. And that has to be explained. And that has to be, you know, transparent with everyone that comes in. So I think that's something
The
that
education
we have to
portion of it
do.
will be when we have a policy in place and we can explain how this form is being rolled out, but right now we're not there.
So
So,
I'm curious, how would I physically have to come into the department to get this form? Or is it, I could request it online, or I could fill it out
I
online?
mean, we would love to have it online once it's ready to go, but this is something that will be available, yes, at the front desk.
So I would have to physically come in the front desk and
Yeah.
pay in advance, or I pay when I collect?
The way, I'm assuming that Joyce does it, I'm not sure if it's actually done here at Town Hall or it's done at the police department, as far as like,
We
checks
process all the
already.
money, and we don't process the check until the report's produced. Because it's
yeah,
per
nothing to it,
page.
because if we can't provide them that report in a timely manner, or they don't come and pick up the report, we don't charge them, you know, so yeah, it's something that we charge them after.
council, any further questions or comments on the new policy concerning police report timelines and transparency? Anything else? Okay, we have a second agenda item on our police department work session, and that's discussion of policy changes concerning immigration detention and current case law. As we all know, there's been a lot of incidents across the country regarding ICE and police interactions. And again, we just mentioned about how our policies are 10 years old, 11 years old, and they really replicate everything that Pinal County does as Pinal County Sheriff's Office does. So we've wanted to make sure that Superior's policies were a little bit more in line with how we want to make sure people are treated in Superior. So, Chief, I know you've been working on this with our attorney, Mr. Cooper, so give us your report on this.
Okay, Mayor and council members, tonight I want to briefly outline the Superior Police Department's policy regarding contacts with foreign nationals, a situation that may involve immigration enforcement. First, the town of Superior does not limit or restrict enforcement of federal immigration law beyond what is permitted under the federal or state law. At the same time, our policy clearly emphasizes that the officers must respect the civil rights of all individuals and avoid racial profiling in all enforcement actions. It is important to understand that immigration enforcement is primarily a federal responsibility. The agency responsible for the most immigration investigations is U.S. Immigration and Customs, or ICE. Our officers may coordinate with ICE when necessary, but the federal government maintains a primary jurisdiction over immigration violations. Now, under our policy that we're looking at, officers may inquire about immigration status only during lawful stops, detentions, and arrests when reasonable suspicion exists. And that's something that is very important on our end for liability issues. Our officers cannot use race, color, or national origin as a factor to determine immigration status. In addition, during voluntary or consensual contacts, officers cannot require someone to produce an identification or show me papers. There's been a lot of that. Another important component of the policy is that the immigration inquiries cannot extend a detention beyond the original reason for the stop. We can't hold anybody longer than a reasonable, especially on an investigative detention. If officers cannot quickly verify status through federal authorities, the individual must be released once the original purpose of the stop has been completed. The policy also recognizes that many immigration violations are civil, not criminal. That is important to understand because that is a topic right now throughout the whole nation in regards to let's go after, you know, illegals, and a lot of people feel that it's a felony or it's such a, you know, big crime, I guess. They cannot arrest or transport someone solely for a civil immigration violation without federal involvement. And we can't take people to detention facilities, things like that. When a person is arrested for a criminal offense, officers will verify their immigration status when appropriate and coordinate with ICE if any immigration holds is issued. If ICE places a hold on an individual determined to be unlawful present, that person may be booked in the county jail, except in the establishment. So if we run somebody and they have a federal warrant or committed a federal crime, then yes, at that point, we can act. That is our duty to go ahead and follow up on that. The policy also addresses victim and witnesses. Officers are not required to investigate immigration status. If doing so would interfere with a criminal investigation. In some cases, victims who cooperate with law enforcement may qualify for a U visa program, which provides temporary legal status to certain victims and assist in investigations or prosecutions. Finally, when foreign nationals are arrested, officers must inform them of their right to contact the consulate. Consistent with federal law and international agreements, certain diplomatic officials may have immunity from arrest depending on their status. In summary, this policy ensures that the Superior Police Department follows state and federal law, protects constitutional rights, and works appropriately with federal partners when immigration and related situations arise. That is kind of a summary of the policy. I know Mr. Cooper probably has a little more to elaborate, but this is something that I kind of put it on.
Mayor, council members, in looking at this policy, we obviously, as you've seen some of the other policies, we didn't write it from scratch. We basically looked at other communities to see what policies are, and we tried to find ones that were basically that met the current established case law, not what any basically law enforcement agency suddenly decides what the law is. Basically, we looked at established case law in state and federal court with regards to this, so that we could try to adopt a policy. We did basically take this from Scottsdale, modify it to the town, make sure what was out there and everything. And as the chief said, basically, we're not enforcing immigration. We do not have a legal right to do so, nor are we equipped to do that. We can assist ICE, but those are usually in the situations where basically they're trying to apprehend someone that's dangerous with a felony warrant out there, where we would basically be in a support role, like we would with any other state law enforcement agency if there was an incident in our community. We're not basically looking to go out and bust anybody, but if a crime occurs and the crime is of a magnitude that, you know, further investigation is required, we certainly would do that. What we would basically use, you know, common sense. The officers have some discretion with this policy to basically look at it, and as the chief pointed out, if this is a civil traffic offense, that doesn't, you know, that basically it doesn't turn into an immigration detention stop unless basically there's a warrant issued out of a court for the arrest of that individual.
Okay.
And also, this policy doesn't make us a sanctuary city. It basically says that we will follow the law and we will respect the rights of our citizens and any non-citizen rights that are established under state and federal law.
Does anyone have any other questions about that?
I just have one question. And on page 5, section E, number 1, it says release the subject after filling out an SPD ICE referral form. Do we have those?
We don't have one, sir. That's something that we're gonna have to add on there and implement it with this policy.
Presumably, we'll have to copy it from Scottsdale, which is where we got the policy.
Yeah, that's typically when you guys take these from different departments, I'll do a search to see if we're calling out Scottsdale or Maricopa or something. Because sometimes those get through.
Well, and SPD, Scottsdale Police Department.
That's why I asked.
You know,
I was like, man, we got some documentation here.
We
I
will,
appreciate your research,
Oh,
Vice
thank
Mayor. You do a great job with that.
Anyway,
we'll get you that form, and basically it will be, you know, it will be just what it needs to be, no more, no less.
yeah, I mean, if, all it is if we're adopting a procedure like this and it calls out referrals or forms, we just need to make sure we have them in place if it's something that we're adopting and implementing.
Chief, just out of curiosity, in the last year or so, how many immigration-related issues have you had to deal with?
I have not got any information in regards to anything as far as us making contact or having ICE on community or having to deal with any immigration status incidents. So knock on wood, that doesn't affect us. We
This
don't
won't
have to-
happen a lot, but we'll be prepared if it does happen.
Well, and that was really the beginnings of this conversation as to how was Superior Police Department, what was going to be the reaction and what was council's kind of like, what was our thoughts on this? Because a lot of these situations have been happening in certain political demographic communities, just to be honest. And, you know, we want to make sure that our team was completely prepared and had the, you know, tools and wherewithal, that our policies matched humane, you know, treating people according to the law and not on the other side of some of these issues that have been happening across the nation. And thankfully, everything's been very calm in Arizona, and things have been but it's also our job to make sure that we have policies reflecting, you know, the culture and nature of Superior that are within the actual federal law. So I just want to make sure we're not coalition building, so to say, in some of the other things that are happening out in our general vicinity.
And I think it's important, Mayor, that we provide that information to the public, so, because there's a lot of fear going on in this community now, I mean, throughout all the communities throughout the states, and that's something that we have to put out so they can feel a little more at ease, because there's so much things that are going on in, you know, the TV and, you know, networks, and so for us to put something out and put them at ease is something that I think would be beneficial.
Well, the last thing we want is for anyone to not be calling on the police department for services if they're in domestic violence situations or anything, because there's an assumption that every police department is joined in on this coalition, or however you want to say it. It's so sensitive in many ways, but I do appreciate that, you know, you and Mr. Cooper working on this to make sure that we had a policy, because again, we're finding all of these things that were adopted by Pinal County, or we purchased them from somebody else, and now this is where we're at. So I like that we're honing in on our policies and studying them up a little bit more, so they are in line with what the culture and what Superior kind of wants versus
And
just
Mayor,
taking that.
Mayor, if I may comment on the overall picture on policies. We will have to sign up most likely for a policy pool program, like LexiPool or one of the other lawyer-driven ones. They do a lot of vetting and regular updating so that we don't end up in the situation where we're behind. They automatically update them as they go along. They are a lot of work to set up, and with our admin staff being overextended, this is going to be a very large lift for them to go through. And number one, we have to sign up for the program, which will be around $20,000 a year probably. And they're going to have to go in and modify each of these policies, make sure they fit our community and our size. It will take months. So we will still, in that interim, we're going to be developing policies and bringing them forward on critical issues that need to be dealt with immediately. Then we're going to do an overall update of the entire package. So last time, I believe Chief Elanise was going to update the policy manual. He worked on it for 3 or 4 months and then moved on to the next thing and never finished, because it is a huge lift for a single chief without much admin support to do this. So I just want to be clear-eyed, we're not asking for a minor thing, we're asking for a very large project, and it's going to take the chief a while to bring this forward. The best way to deal with that is start now, because we never get finished if we never start. So, I was just
Well, I
setting
think
expectations.
That's the purpose of this work session, is to better understand so we can set realistic expectations. We can't, consume the elephant all at one time, but if we don't get started at some point, we can't keep pretending that it's okay that we're at that point that they need to be updated, and we need to make sure that all of our departments run with professionalism, and, so we know it's gonna be a big big tranche of work, but I think it's important work to do and put some focus on, so.
Yeah, we've came across even policies that are not even existent, and challenges that we're dealing with that right now. So again, I think this is a really important topic. This is something that can really shape a department of where it's going to go. Because if this isn't addressed now, it's going to be addressed down the road, and hopefully not in a situation that's going to hurt, our community.
I think we're saying all the right things, but I think that's why it's important, Todd, that we have development goals in place for people in these leadership roles, because you said that's what Chief Alaniz was supposed to do, and he did it for 3 months, and then he stopped doing it. Well, that's a lack of leadership on our part for not overseeing that, because we're addressing these because it's a squeaky wheel right now. But as soon as it becomes too much for someone, we bail, we move on to the next shiny thing.
And that's also a factor of the fact that I'm on my 5th chief now. He didn't stay. So the continuity has been a problem for us. The starting and stopping projects, because we end up with a new chief. For instance, we had the same conversation with Chief Chavez about reports a year and a half ago. This was on the path to correction, and it was front of mind and the most important thing, and then he left. So consistency, continuity, pass downs to the new chiefs, these are all things we do have to get better at, and I acknowledge that. I think we want to make sure that we are setting up programs that continue past the chiefs as well, like this policy manual. It will carry forward with the new chief. It will be automatically updated. The chief can have input, but he doesn't have to start from scratch on it. So we need to improve our procedures, definitely.
That's what I'm saying. If we have like these strategic goals we talk about sometimes, regardless of who the chief is, those are things that are on your plate that you own as the leader of this organization, who they report into. So it doesn't matter who the chief is. When they come in, they know what the development goals are and where it's currently at, and somebody picks up where the other one left off. So yeah, I get it. You guys got a lot on your plate, and something else is going to come up, and we're probably not going to be able to get to this, but that's also on Todd as a town manager to hold you guys accountable. And if that's happening, then shame on us.
Do we have a timeline that we can set for the most pressing policies that need to be addressed now, like the ones we've received the most complaints on, so that we know in 3 months or 4 months or 6 months that we can see this in front of us and we can review and get it implemented?
The number one issue for complaints in my office is the reports. It's not occasional, it's regular. So the chief has been given some direction to bring back a new policy at the next meeting, and if that is ready for approval at the next meeting, then that's when we ought to do it. If the council says, no, we don't like this, we bump it back again, then it would be the next meeting.
I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what she's asking is, it's not one procedure at a time. You're talking about we're 11 years behind, and how are we gonna keep this in front of us? So the most stringent ones that we're having issues with, whether it's 5 or 6, is there a timeline of getting those addressed, whether it's 6 months or a year? I don't know how long it takes. I know how long it takes to incorporate procedures, but how do we know this is going to stay on your dashboard? And I think that's what
Prioritizing.
Yeah, so, Vice Mayor,
I see that.
I think that we need to, I will sit down with Todd, and we need to address this issue on how we are going to do it, because it's like Todd said, I mean, it's a system that it takes time to do it correctly, and to make sure that we're getting the proper people and the resources to do this correctly, because,
I don't think anyone disagrees with you on that.
and I think that's where also our budget and our money, and I mean, do we have the money to do those type of things?
So it sounds like this isn't gonna get done in a timely manner, on your critical ones. I think you know what we're asking, Todd, and it's not to take a chunk out of this and eat the whole elephant, as the mayor said. It's like, I don't need to get a bite of the foot.
Here's what I would request, from the council. Not that we, leave it open-ended. I would like the council to say, they would like to see, the top 6 priority, policies put together in a list by the chief, and with the timeline for adoption of a new policy, by the next council meeting.
Why
So-
would we have to ask for that when
Huh?
you manage that department? I mean, that's well within your capabilities of assigning those types of tasks. Now that's us micromanaging and saying we want to.
To be clear, policy is a council function.
Totally understand that,
Yeah,
Todd,
so
but
it's
as far
not
as
that-
us saying you need to have these done, maybe we direct you that and you pass that
Yeah.
down.
So I will pass down to the chief, and we'll come up with a timeline. Again, these policies are not official until the council approves and adopts them. Staff does not set policy, we suggest policy. So we will do that, absolutely. If you have a timeline you would like me to follow, 1 a month, all of them by 3 months, I will absolutely follow.
I think that's up to you guys to gauge that and come back to us and tell us what that looks like. I don't think we're in any position here to say, take your top 6, because what if one is 100 pages long and there's a ton of research that goes into it? And I don't know what those top 6 are or the magnitude of them. So I think that's for you guys to go back and evaluate and come back with a timeline. I'm not saying an aggressive timeline, so it's gotta be done right now, but something that's manageable if you guys are taking on this task. And again, it's not something that needs to be done right away, but at least you're saying this is an issue and needs to be addressed. Show us you're working on it.
Yeah, I think that's, like, obviously Todd, you feel a lot of the complaints because you're getting them from us. So-and-so's calling about this, so-and-so's calling about this. Go talk to the town manager because they're not getting anywhere at PD. And I know we've had conversations about other policies that just kind of sat and lingered and lingered and lingered. It wasn't until you rounded that up and said this needs to get on a council agenda. So I would like to see by next meeting, what are the top 6 policies that you guys are gonna work on? And even if it's like, this last one is a big one, but it's not the most, it's rank 'em. Maybe that doesn't come in until, the first part of 2027, but I think what we're saying here is council would just like to see a little bit more formulation on some of this stuff, so we know where there's accountability. And here, like, hey, this is why this one's gonna take longer, because Cooper needs more time to review, or whatever. It just, we're tired, to be honest. We're tired of hearing the back talking on Facebook. We're tired of hearing complaints on the street. Our families hear about it, and we want to see that things are going to get done. And that's it. We expect police officers to be kind, to work with human interests. We expect we had a whole conversation about not having so much aggressiveness. Like, that's not the way we want this. And so we probably wouldn't be here having such an intense conversation had we not kept getting beat up on Facebook all the time. So let's just cut to the chase on why we want to see some action by the next meeting. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Anything else to add?
Set it off.
Hearing.
Real quick, you guys might want to read through this procedure a little bit more because they're calling out other positions. I know we don't have here.
Yeah, so let's just make sure that, it's right, our policies are right size. With that being said, it is 6:50, and we have a motion to adjourn. There's a motion by Councilmember Berger, the second by Councilmember Tomerlin, all in favor? Aye. We will resume our regular session at 7 p.m.
He is.
Absolutely.
Just a better hole.
Yeah, I'm sure the letter A, BJ, yeah, well, it doesn't depend. So, Mr. Cooper, I want to see you at our next planning and zoning meeting. How are you doing?
I have
Todd?
Hey.
Ruby? Chief?
How are you, sir?
Good to have you too. Bruce? We've met, yes, sir, yeah. You get enough pizza? No, didn't have time. You didn't have time for pizza? Get one in there and you,
Huh?